Hello? And welcome back to the Paper Soprano podcast. This is your host, and my name is Heidi. And this, you guys, is the 90th episode of the podcast. We have been doing this podcast for 90 days straight. Can you believe it? Okay, so I had a little bit of a thought today, inspired and definitely stealing her idea by Dodie. If you're listening, she's not listening. if you're familiar with Dodie, she is a British singer, entertainer, musician, also has a YouTube channel and did this video that I watched today, which was a vlog where she reacted to herself. She as a 20-year-old wrote a letter to herself in 5 years. So she wrote a letter to herself to read in 5 years' time, and then she made a video watching that video. So she, as a 25-year-old, watched the video of herself as a 20-year-old. And I don't know, I just thought that was a really interesting concept. I was kind of talking about this yesterday, about how it's difficult for our parents or people who are of older generations who maybe didn't have specific types of recording devices to really see who they were. Like really, like day to day, see who you were when you were in your 20s or a teenager maybe. So I think it's really interesting that this generation, like, younger millennials, maybe older millennials too, it depends, like if you still have your MySpace account or something, or your AOL stuff, but like really Gen Z has access to themselves as a younger person, and they can really see videos and audio and long uninterrupted footage of themselves, you know? So I think that's really interesting, and I wanted to, for the 90th episode, I wanted to create a letter to my 30-year-old self. So I am currently 25 years old, and it is the year 2021. Yeah, so it's 2021. It's 2021, and I am currently 25 years old. So this is going to be like a little time capsule. I'm like telling you about myself, but I'm also kind of telling my future self about my current self. So, it's 2021, girl. You're still in your doctorate. You're still doing your doctorate at Stony Brook. You actually kind of just started. You finished your master's last year, and you went right into your doctorate. And now, also, this first year of your doctorate has been kind of a shit show because it has been a blessed pandemic upon all of us. So, you've been not singing in person, you've been recording things, you've been recording from your apartment. Currently, where you live, you live in an apartment on Long Island. And yeah, I've got some questions for you, my 30-year-old self. Yeah, I have I've got some questions. Okay, so I'm looking at this list that I wrote for myself, kind of sort of inspired by Dodie's questions, but also just kind of questions that talk about my own life. So these are going to be kind of random. So when you're 30 years old, you're listening to this, you're hearing it, and you're saying to yourself, what's changed? What's different? Okay, so here's my questions. Has anybody had any babies yet? Like, Jess, your sister, has she had any babies yet? Like anybody else? Like, you know, you've got a lot of cousins. Like, I want to know who's having babies. Have you met any new friends? Like, I hope that you have moved into the city by now, into New York City, or even maybe you're somewhere else besides New York City. I hope that I can move to this city in the next couple of years, and then maybe you're in Boston. We've wanted to move to Boston a little bit. Maybe you're in California. That would be really sick. Like, maybe you're maybe you're in Colorado. That would also be a place that I could picture myself potentially. Or a little bit spicier, if you're moving at a quick pace, maybe you are in Europe. I would love to live in Europe. I'd love to live in England. I'd love to live in Ireland. I'd also love to live in France if I can get my French chops up to par, which would be a lot. But have you traveled to Europe? Like, have you at least gone there? I would hope so. Hopefully this freaking pandemic is well in the past by then. Please. Are you doing any karate? Are you back in martial arts at all? I'm personally hoping that that's going to happen in like the next year or so, maybe even sooner, if I can find a cool place, or maybe start a different style. I've been thinking about other styles, not just karate. Have you gotten any gigs yet, for Christ's sake, you know? Like, tell me about all these like things that you're hoping to get, or maybe you have things that you've done, or you've hopefully, I'm hoping, have done some summer programs. I haven't really done a lot of summer programs, and I know that a lot of people who are younger than I have done plenty. So I feel a little bit behind, but hopefully by 30 we'll have a couple under our belts. Our belts. Like, I'm literally talking about myself in the future as a different person. Okay, yeah. So have you sung any like, if you've gotten some gigs? If you haven't, just skip ahead. I don't want to, hit a nerve or anything, but if you've gotten any gigs, have you sung any of like your dream roles yet? Like, have you sung Sophie or Olympia or like Lakme? Probably not, but like or Blanchen, or Despina, like all of these roles that I think I would be good with. Have you done any of those? Like, ooh, girl, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see. I hope you're not married. If you are, I'm sure there's a good explanation, but I really hope you're not. I hope you don't have a house. And if you do, I'm sure there's a really good explanation, but like, at this point, I can't see myself, like, quote, settling down in the next 5 years. I think that's unrealistic for my career path desires. Have you gotten any cool teaching jobs? Like any gigs around the country, or teaching positions? You'll have had your doctorate for a couple years then. I'm sure, there's probably no entry-level positions. But have you gotten any teaching jobs? Right now, you're still in the job where you're teaching with Mainstage Studios in Buffalo, but you're actually living on Long Island. So you're teaching on Zoom. Hopefully you've forgotten what Zoom is by now. Hopefully that is just a thing of the past, and you're never going to look at your computer that way again. You're never going to open up. You've got this little blue potato of a computer. It's not very good, but it gets the job done. And hopefully you have moved on from the Zoom teaching. And if you haven't, then I'm sure there's good reason, or maybe we've evolved. But I don't think technology is going to get anything crazy in the next 5 years. I think it's pretty stagnant as of right now. I am just realizing I just jotted down a bunch of questions to myself, like earlier today after I listened to that vlog. But I wrote down on 2 separate spots, do you like coffee? And like 15 lines down, like I put a bunch of questions here. And another question is, do you still hate coffee? That is because I tried to make a cup of coffee today. God help me. Why do I just keep doing this to myself? I just don't like it. But I want to like it. Like, that's the problem. I want to be in with the cool kids, all the cool kids who drink coffee, but I just don't like it. But also, I will say, typically, I would classify myself as a late bloomer. So this could just be a sign of the times here. Maybe I'll get into coffee later. Maybe I'll be into coffee in my 30s. So there's still time. So how's the fam? How's mom and dad? How's everybody doing? How's grandma and grandpa and Grandma Schneider and everyone? Like, where's everybody living? Has anybody moved away and saw the world or gone on any crazy trips? How's Gunnar and Maverick? Definitely want to know how the doggies are doing. They'll be in 5 years. Like 8 and 9, right? 9 and, or maybe 8 and 10. So they'll be getting pretty up there for a lab and a German shepherd. But I'm sure they're doing great. So let's see, what else did I write on here? Oh, do you have any new musical tastes? Like, tell me about people who you like. Like, I know recently you've, like for me right now, 25-year-old you recently has gotten really into Jacob Collier. I really like Jacob Collier. I think he's great. And trying to think if anybody else knew who I like. I mean, you still like the faves. You still love Ben Folds. Ben Folds is your lifeblood right now. But still loving Demi and all the girls who got me through, like Avril and, you know, my classic angsty teen music. But oh, this is a random question, but I wonder, how's Miley Cyrus doing? How's her voice doing? Because I keep telling everybody who I ever know, like, how's that voice sounding? I'm very concerned for her. I saw a video on Instagram the other day of her like running on a treadmill and singing, and it was like unedited footage, and I was like, I know she's going for it. I know she's trying her best, and I know that it's like a thing. Her voice is more of like a spectacle than like a longevity thing. You know what I mean? She's really going for the effect than anything else, but I wonder how her voice is doing in 5 years. So let me know. Yeah, so I'm looking at this list. This is so funny to me. Oh, have you seen any good concerts? Oh my god, tell me like the most amazing thing you've seen in the past 5 years. Like the one that comes to mind for me in my past 5 years, which I don't even think I was, this must have been in the past like 10 years or something. I don't know. No, 5 years. Come on, you're not that old. But at Fredonia, in my undergrad, I saw Jason Robert Brown, and that was the craziest thing, craziest display of music I have ever witnessed in an individual. And also, you saw Jacob Collier. You saw Jacob Collier live in the city. You saw him. It was amazing. You've seen tons of performances in the city. You've been to the Met a bunch of times. The Met's doing a little bit shady stuff right now. I wonder also how's the Met doing in 5 years, but you've been to the Met a bunch of times. You've seen Romeo and Juliet. You've seen Rose and Cavalier. You've seen so many beautiful, beautiful shows. You've seen the New York Phil play in the past 5 years. You've been to the Blue Note. You've been to all these cool jazz clubs. Yeah, you've seen Chick Corea play. He just died this past year, but you went and saw him. You saw Chick Corea. You've seen just some crazy, crazy far out jazz stuff like at Lincoln Center, but more at like the underground clubs, like not Lincoln Center. Yeah, you saw Joshua Redman a couple years ago. So many cool people and stunning music in this city. So I hope that there's more of that, and I can't wait to hear all about it. I can't wait to live it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I just wanted to say to you, my 30-year-old self, that I hope that you can look back on these episodes, these podcast episodes, and say, at least say that I appreciate that person, that 25-year-old person because of all of the work that she's doing and putting in mentally. You know, I'm not doing anything crazy in terms of my musical growth right now, girl. Like, sorry. But there's just not much going on. Like, literally, we just don't have opportunities right now. So, but my mental growth, like, you probably will recall, but just in case you forgot, you got dumped this past year by someone who you never thought would hurt you that way. And I want you to remember this feeling. I want you to remember the weeks and months that have gone by where you were left with nothing. You know, you had everything taken from you, and in like the worst way. So I don't want you to forget that. I just don't. I want you to realize that you got yourself out of that place, and you brought yourself to where you are today. So, and you have your family to thank. You have your friends. They were so supportive. The amount of people that supported you when you were 25 years old, unbelievable. And you have your professors. You have your teacher. Your teacher's Jeremy right now. You have Brenda. You know, you have all of the wonderful faculty at Stony Brook who are supportive and understanding. And they're also human beings, you know. You have so many people who are here for you and that you have been just graced with in your life. And I don't want you to forget the pain that you went through because of the selfishness of another person. And you were strong enough and you were resilient enough. You had enough faith in yourself at 25 to continue on and be who you are now when you're 30. So you've learned a lot of difficult lessons this year, and I'm sure there's a lot more to come from the ages of 25 to 30. I'm sure that this is not the last hard lesson I'll learn this way. Men are stupid, sorry, but they are. And they're selfish and extra stupid in their 20s. And you can argue with me all day about that, but I will fight you until my dying day that it's just a maturity level thing. Some people mature faster than others and some people just don't. And I'm glad now that I have progressed in the way that I have. You love to be busy. You keep it real when you're busy, and you're able to hold yourself more accountable when you're busy, which is good. So I'm sure you're going to be busy when you're 30 too. I'm not sure. Maybe you'll meet some new people. Maybe you'll have a different boyfriend by then. But for right now, that is not on the horizon. And I want you to remember, I want you to keep it real fresh in your brain, the kind of trauma that you had to endure because of someone else in your life. So just please do not forget this kind of experience that you've had. And going forward, I think that it's really important to not let that fade away, if that makes any sense, and to not make similar mistakes. You know in your hardest of hearts what you want from like a life partner, and sometimes it takes time for you to realize that you made a wrong decision. or you made the wrong choice in the past. But I'm sure when you're 30, you'll be able to see it crystal clear. But right now, still pretty fresh and still pretty intense. Like, no closure has been given, no communication has been had. There has been nothing since November, and it is now March. So remember this feeling of self-triumph and self-lifting. You put yourself where you are right now. Nobody else did this. So you can, girl, you can do anything. Damn, like, you can do it, okay? And you've got friends around you who are supportive, and, you've got a vocal family of people who are here at Stony Brook, and you've got a support system from your time at Fredonia. You've got so many people who might not be necessarily like close to you in proximity, but they are there for you. You got the job that you have right now because of a connection. You didn't even apply, remember? Like, you literally didn't even apply. It was because someone, a friend, a colleague, just recommended you. So people are on your side. And you are also on your side. Ew! Very strange sensation talking to your future self like this. But I will say that this is kind of how I've been living my life. So now I'm gonna end my letter to myself with that, and I'm going to speak to the audience here. If you're listening to this, I highly encourage you to try and speak to yourself, to your future self, and almost think about that person as someone separate than who you are right now. Like, completely separate, like a different person, like someone you met at school, or like a sibling or a cousin or something. And when you talk about that person, or when you think about that person, I think we all can kind of agree that we would do anything for the people who we love most in our lives, right? You would do anything for your dad. You would do anything for your mom. You'd do anything for the people in your lives. You just would. For your friends, for your significant other, you'd do anything for them. So when you start thinking about yourself as another one of those people, instead of this person who kind of lives in the past or lives in the present, if you start thinking about yourself as someone in the future, or someone like who you would want to do nice things for, you would want to help, you would want to be an advocate for, you would want to help them get jobs, you'd want to help them if they're struggling with their art, you'd want to help them if they get a flat tire or if they need their dishes done, like, you'd want to help them, right? So I encourage you to start thinking about yourself as that person who you would want to help. And for me, personally, it helps me to separate myself from that person. And I know that that's not ideal, because ideally you would just know that that is yourself. And of course you're going to do that for yourself. But for someone who's struggled with that, struggled with doing things for myself, struggled with really making the best, healthiest choices for myself in my life, for right now, this separation is really tricking myself, really, into knowing that this is not like a cringy thing, like, doing things for yourself is not cringy, even though sometimes I feel like it is. Like, I feel like, oh, I wish someone else would do this for me, and people don't love me enough, they're not doing things for me, they're not gonna, shell out or put out or whatever. They're not doing it for me, so I have to do it for myself, and that is so cringe. Like, I don't have people who are doing these things for me. Newsflash, okay? You're the person who should be doing the things for yourself. You deserve that for yourself. Your future self deserves that from your present self. And you deserve that from you. They're one and the same, but for some reason separating them in my mind really helps me to acknowledge that it's not like a weird thing that I'm trying to accomplish here. I hope that makes some sense. But I'm going to end the podcast here, and I'm not going to read anything from our minute sketches of great composers. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just I want to leave this as is. If you want to hear some sketches of great composers of dead white guys, we will start that up again tomorrow for episode 91. But for episode 90, I wanted to keep it just with this letter to my 30-year-old self. So, with that being said, I hope you took something from this podcast, and if you have any comments, feel free to, either message down below. You can comment on the video, but also you can message me privately if you want to. No pressure at all, but I always love hearing people's thoughts on the episode, and if you got anything from it, that really means something to me, because I think that I get a lot from these episodes. And I hope that people get something. Like if somebody feels something or is affirmed or validated in some way by these silly little podcasts, I think that that's great. And I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate you listening all the way to episode 90 if you've done that. Like, girl. Yeah, this podcast has really helped me, and I want to make that very, very clear that this project has been very meaningful to me in a lot of ways, and I know it's a little bit silly sometimes, a lot of the times. But I'm a little bit freaking out that it's almost 100 episodes, We're not there yet, so we've got 10 more. So, that being said, if you enjoyed this podcast and you would like to see more of it, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel here. I post every day. And sorry, I just had a flash forward to when I won't be posting every day after 100 episodes, and I'm literally so upset. But I need the break. I really do. I think that it's well needed. You can also like this podcast if you feel so inclined. There's no pressure at all, any time, like literally ever. This podcast is merely created to be expressive, and I don't necessarily feel it's appropriate to try and have people. I'm not trying to beg for views or likes. So just the fact that you listened to it and you enjoyed it means so much to me. So I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night whenever you happen to be listening to this episode. And yeah, you guys, future Heidi, 30-year-old Heidi, hope it's going well, girl. Hope it's going great. All right. I love you, mean it, you guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.